All right, it's Malcolm Saunders here from Light Cellar, just out on the landscape with Latifa Pelletier-Ahmed, having some good conversations we want to share with you. And we've just been kind of talking about this, that, and the next. And this next idea comes from a new way forward. And, you know, on the one hand, a lot of us are in this culture, this society, myself included, born and raised, where if you want food, if you want medicine, you just go to the local corner store. And as I kind of began to question something different, it was, it's all about going back to the land. It's about going back to our old ways and, you know, living off the land and harvesting from the land. And maybe, or is there another way? And Latifa's got some thoughts around that.
Yeah, so, we can't really go back into the past. We have to acknowledge as well colonization and the impacts on the landscape and on the indigenous people who have been living here for millennia, and then on animals that once roamed, like bison, for example. We were chatting about that. So how can we move forward and still be sustainable? How can we respect and acknowledge indigenous knowledge and move forward with connect our own personal indigeneity from wherever our origins are from, and come together on this landscape in a respectful and honorable way, knowing that we have huge, mega impactful, it's not a word, major impact projects happening to fuel literally our modern lifestyle. I won't mention any specifically, but you can probably imagine what I'm saying when I say fuel our modern lifestyle. And
Right.
These have huge impacts on how we can harvest. So we can't just, our populations are quite large, even though in Canada it's fairly small relative to other countries, but we can't just go harvesting everything anywhere without thinking responsibly about how to do that. At the same time, I think it's so important to have that connection to the earth and not just see nature as a museum piece,
Right.
because ultimately we're part of nature, and true respect and I think wholeness as a society comes through that building that deep reciprocal connection with non-human living beings.
Yeah.
So
I think most of us, the path starts with, okay, you're in your kind of urban environment, and maybe you're nibbling Saskatoons, or you're picking rose hips, or you're clipping a little bit of spruce. Like, it's almost more of just a recreation, right? Like,
yeah.
dipping your toes in, and that's great, that's fine. And a lot of people, that's maybe as far as they'll go. And it's a great place to start. One thing I'd like to see is, at least in urban environments, like, let's plant more of these indigenous plants, where it's a parking lot, or it's literally like in between the stalls and we've just got a little bit of greenery. Like, let's plant more of these useful plants where people can then harvest.
Yeah.
Let's think of our urban landscapes as foodscapes, as medicine-scapes.
Absolutely. And already we have some of that available to us. So a starting point is, it's great to start looking in an urban environment and see what's growing around us. Trees and shrubs are a great example, because it's easy to harvest small amounts in a sustainable way that doesn't have a huge impact on that particular tree or shrub necessarily, depending on the species and so forth. These plants are they're already here for us. They're often pruned anyways in the summer. They may have a shorter lifespan because they're grown in an urban environment. So we might as well use those and make better use of them. I mean, becoming part of a circle where we see the beginning and end point of something, I think is a way to move forward more sustainably. So, for example, I've used before landscapers' clippings or
Right.
debris or what may be waste, or just thrown into the compost as medicine. And connecting up those loose ends so that there's so much going on, and the more we connect to our community and to what's happening around us, and start looking around what's happening in our neighborhoods, engaging with the city and what they're doing in terms of landscaping, we're able to have a more deeply interconnected relationship with our landscape.
Totally. Let's start getting rid of lawns.
Yeah, we don't need lawns.
For sure. And I don't know if you know the origins of lawns. A lot of the time, right, the house was like well back, and they had this expansive like lawn, and that was it was a sign of wealth, right? That you could waste land, that you could just have grass. You didn't need to grow food. It didn't need to be functional, because you had so much. You had so much wealth, and unfortunately, that's carried on. But there is that movement, to tearing up lawns, replanting. Blaine and Drusick. I mean, his little tiny piece of property is such a great example of just the sheer biodiversity and the permaculture principles. He does nothing. He doesn't water it, yet it produces such an abundance of food and medicine every year, just right in the front and the back of his yard. So that's a way forward.
Yes, definitely.
Cool, right on. Well, let us know your comments. This is obviously not a complete discussion, but just wanted to kind of plant some seeds and get that conversation going. Let us know, and if you want to connect more with Latifa, give her a follow at Latifa's Herbs, as well as come check out some of her classes. We have her teaching at Light Cellar this winter calendar.